Outside of the first party, however, we come to 2K-owned team Cloud Chamber, the studio working on the next BioShock. According to website PC Games N, Cloud Chamber is still seeking heads for the project, and it sounds like the next BioShock will be open world. The team is looking for someone, quote, who can weave impactful character-driven stories in an open world setting, end quote, while they're also looking for a writer who will be, quote, brainstorming primary and secondary content, end quote. While BioShock had been known to be semi-open and at least gives you the feeling of non-linearity, the series has always revolved around tightly controlled narratives in a more contained space, so the new BioShock is certainly going to be different. The original BioShock launched in 2007 and came to PS3 in 2008. It was followed by a sequel, BioShock 2 in 2010, and BioShock Infinite in 2013, also both on PS3. Matthew Urso wrote into us on Patreon and it says, "Hey, Rocky Balboa, Latin God, and Long Dong Dustin." Wow. Is 2K and Cloud Chamber stuck between a rock and a hard place with the next BioShock? A recent article making the rounds talked about Cloud Chamber recruiting for several positions that all seem to hint that the next BioShock will, in some form or another, be open world. While this could be interesting, I must admit I have some trepidations, and this is why I ask if 2K and Cloud Chamber are stuck with this game. It seems like if the next BioShock is just a copy of the ones before, they'll get criticized for not doing anything new. And if they do something new like an open world, they'll get criticized for abandoning the series' roots. What do you guys think? Is it possible for Cloud Chamber to pull this off? And what would you guys like to see from the next BioShock? Thanks, and keep defiling that chicken booty. I think I'll do just that. Thank you. I personally am incredibly disappointed to hear this because BioShock's not an open world game. I don't know what the hell this is, but it's like, why don't you just let them make a game of their own then? It's not, because I agree with Matthew. They are stuck between a rock and a hard place. Wouldn't you agree, Dustin? Because they're never going to be able to replicate Ken Levine. It's not going to happen. So they need to make their own game, but then the questions are going to become like, well, what makes this BioShock? And I'm more concerned now than I was, let's say, last week about this project. What do you think?
Yeah, for me, I know not everyone feels this way. That's fine. You don't have to agree with me. But BioShock is Ken Levine's writing. That's what makes the game so special. And while I don't think BioShock 2 is a bad game, it's not to the quality of BioShock 1 and BioShock Infinite. That magic, the Ken Levine magic, wasn't there for me. So whether it's open world or not, I can't help but feel like this is like a cover band version trying to make an original, like I don't know, some like a Lynyrd Skynyrd cover band making their own original in the style of Lynyrd Skynyrd or something. And you're like, this ain't it, you know?
Well, it kind of reminds me of, I was listening to Rogan yesterday, and he had Brian Greene on, the physicist, and they were listening to like a computer study like Amy Winehouse. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And Nirvana and stuff, and then wrote songs, and they sound, the Nirvana song sucks, but like the Amy Winehouse song is nuts. You know, it's almost like, why don't you just tell a computer what BioShock is, and it will probably come up with something better than this.
Right. So I think, like you said, the fact that it's open world, at what point does the BioShock name just become branding and brand awareness? To be clear, though, I mean, I'm holding all judgment until we actually see the game. I want it to be great. I want it to be like, whoa, BioShock can live without Ken Levine. I don't have confidence that that's the case.
Yeah, Chris, I got to get you in here. I mean, you love BioShock like I do as well, and I just feel like it's cool that 2K has Ghost Story Games, which is Ken Levine's new studio. That game will be a 2K game, so they already kind of have him involved. But it just does beg the question, like, why didn't you just let him or convince him and give him what he wanted to just make BioShock again? You know, everyone has a price, you know, and it's like, I don't want some pale replicant of the game we love so much. BioShock is arguably one of my 5 top favorite games ever, you know. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, ideally you wouldn't want, like, it strikes me as like a Weird Al parody that isn't funny, you know, where it's like, you're not, I agree with Dustin. I think BioShock is Ken Levine, and I think even when I was young and I had no idea who these people were, or didn't really care that much about like who was behind what, I remember playing BioShock 2 and feeling like something wasn't right, or feeling like something was off. And it wasn't until way later that it's like, oh, okay, that makes a ton of sense. Because these people, like, it's like a Kojima thing where it's like these people kind of make these things work. BioShock and BioShock Infinite are massively different games, but they both have like this very, very interesting way about them. They have such a specific style of writing and such a specific style of design, even with their rapid differences in tone and even in, I would argue, genre, that I don't know if some random studio off the street, even if they're under the same umbrella as, you know, Ken Levine under 2K, I don't know if they can really do another BioShock. I don't think another BioShock can really work. And I always kind of felt this way, and I was waiting for more news to come out about it. But now that it's like an open world, apparently, like if it's an open world, like I'm extra sure that this is just not going to work. And it brings me no joy to say that, because I would love nothing more than another BioShock. But I would want a BioShock that Ken Levine wants to make. And I would want a BioShock that isn't another open world. Like, the whole point of BioShock was that it felt so open despite its linearity. It felt like a real place. It felt like a well-realized reality.
The non-linearity was a mirage. I mean, that's what was so cool about
exactly.
it.
It was like a very directed experience. And I think that's, you know, that doesn't work for everything, but it works pretty perfectly for BioShock. It reminds me of and this is like a little bit different because like Batman is obviously like a, you know, a way different character, but like it reminds me of the shift from Asylum to City, where like Arkham Asylum was very, very linear, but it was awesome, you know, because it was directed and it was like all these levels were like designed. And City, while I felt like it was like, you know, better as a Batman game, I felt like it wasn't as good of a video game. Because it felt less designed, it felt less directed, and it felt less paced. And I worry about this because BioShock is all about the pacing, and BioShock is all about, you know, revisiting
atmosphere.
And I don't know. Like, maybe they can build like a really amazing atmosphere and stuff like every square inch of an open world with stuff that's as interesting as the cellar in Colombia where you can play the guitar, or the baby in the or the gun in the crib. But
that's exactly what I was going to say. The gun in the crib moment. Like, you can't even have that kind of moment in an open world.
Yeah.
You can't.
Or,
you know,
or even similar small things like the shotgun with the spotlight over it, and I'm sure you could get that done, but I'm really, really skeptical of that. Especially because we've not seen anything about this, not even concept art, not even just a general idea as to what this game's going to be. I feel really doom and gloom about this, the next BioShock, and I didn't want to feel that way. And I've been kind of keeping myself from saying anything about it publicly until we knew more about it, but this is like not what I want out of BioShock.
Yeah, it's a new team as well, so...
Yeah.
Now, experienced teams, 2K, to their credit, is investing in newer teams, which is cool.
Yeah.
And like keeping them around and allowing them to live, which is neat. But so, you know, you had Hangar 13 taking over Mafia, for instance, as an example of that. But I agree with you. Like, you have there's options, right? You can have a Red Dead Redemption 2 style story, like you said, where the moments are in the open world, and that requires incredible scripting and lots of effort and understanding that players are simply not going to encounter a lot of the stuff that you put into the world. Or you can have like a really tight narrative driven game that's about moment to moment gameplay, set pieces, and locations, which is what BioShock was about. My only hope is, and we can move on about this because we really have nothing else to speculate about, but my only hope again is that Ken Levine is somehow not helping, not any of that, I'm sure he's not, but somehow has his finger on the pulse and at least is being consulted about what they should do. You know, if that's not happening, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah.